CloudDB, shaping your new normal.
Welcome everyone to the 2021 APAC Groundbreakers virtual tour by APAC OSC. This year our event would be the biggest one ever done with 144 sessions, which includes normal sessions, workshops, and hands-on labs from 100 different speakers over 17 days. Also, it would cover sessions in 4 different languages: English, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. So please remember to listen to as many sessions as you can. And I would like to say thanks to all Oracle user groups and Java user groups that made this event possible, and also to our sponsors, Oracle Groundbreakers, and our main sponsor, CloudDB. Now for today's session, Upgrade to Oracle 19c from Zero to Hero in 45 minutes by Mike Dietrich and Daniel Orby Hansen from the Oracle Database Upgrade team, wherein Mike and Daniel will be looking into or covering the upgrade features, including the AutoUpgrade tool and a few other things. So please feel free to write any questions at any time during the session on the chat tab of the live webinar, and the speakers will try and answer as many questions at the end of the sessions. If there are any issues during the presentation, please feel free to contact me at any time, again using the chat tab of the live webinar. Now, without any further delay, I would like to pass it on to Mike and Daniel. Over to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Am I sharing the screen?
Yes,
I hope I am. Otherwise, yeah, let me know. That's good. Well, welcome everyone to this talk, Upgrade to Oracle Database 19c from Zero to Hero. And yeah, you will be that little Darth Vader there on the blue bike in the beginning, and at the end, you will be riding a very cool Harley Davidson motorcycle. So let's get started. With me here today is Mike, Distinguished Product Manager. He is the go-to guy on upgrades and migration. Whenever we need to know something that is not written down anywhere, we simply just call Mike, and he has an answer to everything, at least about upgrades.
Yeah, and with me here is Daniel Overby Hansen. Daniel joined us almost 2 years ago now. He's coming close to his 2nd anniversary in Oracle, and he has a life before, or he had a life before that, as the senior lead principal developer of a large Danish software company. And if I want to be challenged, I call Daniel because he's really mostly into let's try it out and make it as complicated as possible. So let's bring in DataGuard and encrypt everything and RUC and ASM and whatever, and see if it works there as well. So Daniel is the guy you want on your team if you want to really push the limits and see where the boundaries are. It's safe to follow Daniel on Twitter, I can tell you, because Daniel doesn't post any pictures of his really beautiful black, tiny little young cat. He uses Twitter only for technical things, as do I. And Daniel has a very, very good blog going deep into details, not only about upgrades, but also about things like zero downtime migration with ZDM and all sorts of things around upgrades, migrations, and the cloud. And yeah, with that, let me just point you to the slides. You can find the slides on Daniel's and my blog. So dohdatabase.com/slides and mikedietrich.com/slides. There you'll find them. And you will find way, way more. So if you think that these 45 minutes are not enough, and it's like a starter session today to make you really capable of AutoUpgrade, and you need more afterwards, please visit our pages, because you'll find almost 18 hours of recorded content, just technical content, seminars about release and patching, about AutoUpgrade, performance testing, migrations, multi-tenant, to the cloud, without cloud, with cloud, whatever. You'll all find it there. And I think next week we'll have the 12th of our web seminars. So we do this as a series in monthly or bi-monthly, up to 2-hour sessions. So expect just technical content and zero marketing slides there. Yeah, and then a quick, very, very quick and short intro into release and patching strategy. Because a while ago we differed between long-term and innovation releases. So a long-term support release, which is Oracle 19c, and this is the release you all please upgrade to, gives you at least 5 years of premier support. This is the black bar in the slide, and an additional minimum of 3 years extended support. While an innovation release, and this is the release after 19c, for instance 21c, has only a very short period for premier support and no extended support. Now let's keep a closer eye on the reality and see what it means. First of all, production databases, due to a long support period, go of course from long-term to long-term support release. So once you all have your databases on 19c, you move on to the next long-term support release. And this is the lifetime support policy. So some of you still have 11.204 databases. They are on the extra cost market-driven support. I know that a good number of you still has 12.102. Be aware that support is running out, even the extended support, extra pay extended support is running out in a few months. So you need to move forward. And when we go to the next slide, then we have a better view on what's coming afterwards. This is just a hidden slide in the presentation. If you want to read up the color codes later on, I won't read it now. It doesn't make sense, but it's in the presentation. And this is what's important for you. So in case you are in 12.201, since a lot of customers move to 12.201, expecting the second release and not realizing that 18c is 12.202, 19c will be 12.203, we added at no extra cost limited error correction support for critical and security fixes for 12.201, and we still release the release updates quarterly. Be aware, this offering is running out in end of March next year. So in 5 months, it's over, or 4 months actually. And the last release updates will be available in January for 12.201. So you should really move forward. In case you're on 18c, 18c has no bug fixing support anymore, no extended support, because it's like an innovation release, even though we didn't call it at this time innovation releases. And you see the long, comfortable premier support and extended support timeframes for 19c. So 19c is the release you all please go to with your production databases. And an innovation release like 21c is a release you can safely give to a developer for new features, for new version of the application. But be aware that you move your production estate from long-term to long-term. So from 19c to the next long-term support release, which most likely will be Oracle 23c. And as the name indicates, that may be available sometime in 2023. That's the idea. And a quick hint, another reason why you must move forward is not only we push you forward because its support is running out, it's security. And you must have heard of the famous Equifax breach, where the management team decided to not apply patches to Apache struts, even though Apache warned with an alert and said you must apply that. Yeah, the result was that Equifax got hacked brutally. 143 million US customer data was really robbed from the Equifax systems. And that doesn't include just the credit card data. It included also the social security number. And this led to Larry Ellison ranting loudly about Equifax at Open World in his keynote, because I guess Larry's data was affected here as well. This is just one of the settlements. Equifax paid $650 million US for a settlement to avoid pled guilty in a court case. And this is really a huge damage. And by the way, also a lot of high-level managers had to leave the company. So the damage was really big. And just by postponing applying important security patches. You shouldn't do that.
But Mike, my database is safe. It's not facing the internet.
Oh, yeah, these newbies. You see, Daniel is much younger than I. Yeah, he's fresh and full of energy, and here's this idea. But I can tell you, Daniel, by experience, I don't care, because I sit in the dark, I turn off the lights, and then I send you this email attachment. And I know you are inexperienced. You click on that email attachment, and then my brutal, nasty virus is spreading in your network and your database server is connected to the network. So you have no chance. There's no escape except for you apply your patches regularly.
Okay, then I agree. I hear your message, Mike. I will upgrade to 19C. And but actually, that's not very hard. It's a 4-step process to upgrade your database successfully to 19C. First, you need to download and install Oracle Database 19C for the reasons that Mike just discussed. It is our current long-term support release, and this is where we want your production databases to go. After that, you should download and install the latest release update and apply it to the Oracle Home before you do the upgrade. It's important that you do it before the upgrade because sometimes we do find changes to the upgrade engine itself and we push out those changes via release updates. Then when it's time to do the upgrade, you should use AutoUpgrade. It is the one recommended tool to upgrade your databases. You can find it in the RDBMS admin folder in your Oracle Home, but you should always go to my Oracle support and download the latest version from there. Our developers are working day and night to ensure that AutoUpgrade is the best tool available to do your upgrades, and they push out changes more often than we can push them into the release updates. That is why you can always get the latest version from my Oracle support. And then the 4th step here, performance stability after upgrade, that is completely out of scope for today's talk. We would need several hours to cover that. But the webinars that Mike talked about previously, we have a full 2-hour seminar about how to ensure performance stability after the upgrade. Okay, to get started, the first place to look is in the Database Quick Start Guide. It's a very simple document, only a few pages. It's not hundreds of pages long, so it's very easy, digestible. Read it and get a good overview of what the upgrade involves. When you need to download the latest release update, I suggest that you go to this Moss node 2118.something. This is the best way to find patches for Oracle Database. When you need to find release updates, you simply click on the 3rd bullet, which is Oracle Database Updates. It's a wizard, and you can then afterwards select the database release and very easy get a link to the patch where you can download. Also, if you're on Microsoft Windows, you can use the last bullets, which will take you to the patches for Windows. But that covers the release update. We have a very important node that you should use also, which is 555.1. It is a Moss node that has a list of the recommended one-off patches that you should put on top of the release updates. So this is a one-stop node that you can visit to find out any critical issues that has been found since the release of the last release update. If there are critical issues, we do our best to push it into the next release update. But until you can use the next release update, you can use the one-off patches and you can get notified about those by using the 555.1. I'm not saying you should install all of the fixes on that node, but read through the list of the bugs and determine whether or not they are suited for your environment. If you don't have a RAG database, you should of course not install a patch which is RAG specific. Now, it's time to do the database upgrade. In general, the database uses parallel threads to make it happen faster. You don't have to worry that much. When you use AutoUpgrade, it will apply a good parallelism for you. If you do it manually, you can also specify something else. But normally, by just going with the defaults, you are good to go. Then a question that we often get is, how long will our upgrade take? And one of the good things about working in IT is that you can almost always answer, it depends. And when it comes to upgrade and the duration of the upgrade, it truly depends as well. It mostly depends on the amount of components that you have in your database. If you look in DBA registry, the more components you have installed there, the longer the upgrade will take. You can add more CPU, more memory. It might have a little effect on the overall upgrade. But in general, it's the amount of components that really matter. What doesn't matter at all is the amount of user data in your database. It doesn't matter if you have a database of 10 gigabyte or one of 100 terabyte. We don't touch the user data during the upgrade, so the upgrade duration is completely independent on the amount of user data. Okay, before we can do the actual upgrade, there are a few things that we should check up front. First, the current release that we are on, is that a release that we can use to directly upgrade to 19C? Well, if you are on 11.204 or anything newer than that, 12.101 excluded, the good news is that you can directly upgrade to Oracle Database 19C, so it's just a simple upgrade. If you have an older database than that, you cannot upgrade directly to 19C, and you need to do two upgrades. You need to do an intermediate upgrade and then directly upgrade to 19C after that. If you look in the database upgrade guide in one of the first chapters, we list from which release you can direct upgrade to Oracle Database 19C. If you are in that unfortunate case that you need to do an intermediate upgrade, our overall recommendation is that you upgrade as far as possible all the time. So if you have a 11.107 database, you should go to 11.204 and then to 19C. But sometimes if you need to change the platform, the operating system as well, it might change your plans. There is no mandatory step in or no mandatory rule in this case, only a general rule of thumb. And then finally, for your very important production database, you can consider doing a health check. A health check is a very simple script that you can download from my Oracle support. It is lightweight and non-intrusive, so you can run it while the database is up and in use. And it'll go in and analyze your data dictionary to see if there are any known corruptions in there that you need to take care of before you start the upgrade. I wouldn't recommend to do it for all your databases. That is simply too much. But for those databases that are very important, you can run a health check in advance. Good. Now, auto upgrade. And Mike, will you guide us through this process?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. And we have to emphasize here 5 times, I think, it's the only recommended way to upgrade Oracle databases. So the tool initially got created based on customer experience, and customers ask us, why doesn't Oracle offer such a thing? And we created it, or we ask our development team to create it. So not Daniel and I created, but we challenged the tool and we use it in all our projects. And Daniel actually, when he was working on a customer side, he was one of our beta testers. And he really pushed AutoUpgrade also forward to become even a better and more useful tool because he embedded it in his former customer environment. So 1, 2, 3, easy AutoUpgrade. Source releases supported. So what you're coming from, what you have today is either 11.204, 12.102, 12.201, 18 or 19. And AutoUpgrade supports all architectures, all operating systems where you have an Oracle database server, standard and enterprise edition, and it's regardless if it's single instance or RAC, doesn't matter. AutoUpgrade supports it. You always download, and I think we say this all together on 3 different slides, but it has to be repeated because I can tell you that approximately 25% of DSRs we see are simply solved by using a newer version of AutoUpgrade. It's reality. So download it from us, please. Then 1 config file. This is the only task you need to do right now. It's 3 lines at a minimum. Source home, target home, and the SID of the database you'd like to upgrade to. Then you kick off AutoUpgrade. And when you want to do AutoUpgrade once, or AutoUpgrade should do everything at once, then you call it with java -char, AutoUpgrade char, -config, and this is pointing to your config file, and -mode deploy. And deploy checks now everything, fixes everything, upgrades your database, and does the post-upgrade stuff. But it's not a black box tool you can monitor. This is important. And you can use AutoUpgrade to upgrade to these versions. Of course, we want you to upgrade to 19C. We said that before. But you can use it also to upgrade to 12.201, to 18C, and of course to 21 in every future release. And this is important because it's one AutoUpgrade tool. Not 5 different tools. You don't have to check, oh, which version do I have here or there. You download the most recent version, and it supports all these source and target releases we talked about. What you need is Java 8, because AutoUpgrade is a small, tiny little Java tool. And Java 8 is part of the 12.102 installation anyway. Otherwise, you install a Java home and a 3 megabyte jar file. But I actually always use the Java installation of the 19C home. So there is Java 8 anyway, so there's no problem. And what you don't need is no agents, so no extra installation. You just deploy the 3.5 megabyte size AutoUpgrade tool. There's no enterprise manager needed, but I think the most recent version of Enterprise Manager or the next patch coming will use AutoUpgrade and utilize it. And you don't need DBOA. DBOA is a tool from the past. It's old, outdated, and nice to click a few times, but it doesn't offer not even close to the functionality of AutoUpgrade. The most important thing for you as customers is AutoUpgrade does not cost any license. It's part of whatever Oracle database license agreement you have. AutoUpgrade is automatically part of it. Yeah, and then we come to the AutoUpgrade essentials. And Daniel, you need to interrupt me when I go into your part, right?
Yeah. You just go ahead. I know you have plenty to say about upgrades. Once you get started, it's impossible to stop you.
Oh, sorry for that. Okay, then I go on. So, have we said it? You download the latest version, please, from us. This is important. You need that. And do a quick check. Java minus jar, AutoUpgrade jar minus version tells you the version. So here in this case, it's the November version. Now you go to the MOS node, and in the MOS node, you'll see this timestamp 2021 11/15. It's identical, so you have the newest version on disk already. Between 6 weeks and 3 months, we release a new version, and it's always newer what you get from the MOS node than the one you have on disk. As you can see, AutoUpgrade handles all the releases as well. So with one tool, as I said before, you can upgrade to these versions. This is the target versions, and you see it here. So one tool handles all. And this is, again, the shortest possible config file version. So source home, target home, and the SID. If you wonder about this UPG1 printed in italics here on the slide, this is to identify your database. You can name it whatever you want. So it could be also Mike and Daniel there. Doesn't matter. We use UPG1, UPG2, but you can also name it like the SID of your database or whatever, because in the config file, you can have a config file for not only just one database, you can have a config file for 700 databases if you want one. And in order to differ between the databases and allow the tool to differ, we need this prefix. There's also a global prefix available, then something applies to all the databases. And if you don't want to write these 3 lines, you can also generate a sample config file. I prefer writing by myself because the sample config file has so many comments that I have to erase them. So it's often quicker to just grab one from Daniel's or my blog. There are enough examples of AutoUpgrade config files and then just edit it quickly. Then best practice would be to analyze. That means AutoUpgrade, non-intrusive, now analyzes your source database with the config file. And the result of the analyze ideally is a log file, and the log file here marked in red says pre-check passed and no manual intervention needed. That means now you don't have to do anything. But this log file is nice. I think Daniel likes the log file more. I like the HTML file more. And let's click on the pre-check report here on this link. And what we get here is first an overview about the database. So if we look at the header of the file here, we see it's a 201 database, Enterprise Edition, time zone 26, 28, something like that. And we see all components. It's important that the components are either valid or option off, which is the case here. Then on the left side, we have now a lot of links. This is a multi-tenant environment we're upgrading, But AutoUpgrade, as I said, can do non-CDBs, CDBs, whatever, single PDBs, all works. For each of the containers, we have now a section. Watch out for error. If there is error, you need to pay extra attention. There are no errors, so we click on the CDB $roots recommendation, and here we see two warnings. First warning says, hey, you haven't done dictionary statistics yet. If you want to do it now. AutoUpgrade checks if they're younger than 7 days, no action happens. If they're older than 7 days, then you see in this apricot line here in the middle, fix up available, yes. That means AutoUpgrade will fix that for you. And the same, by the way, can happen for errors as well. Second thing here is AutoUpgrade detects undocumented parameters like underscores or events and warns you about them. Now you should check because AutoUpgrade doesn't master you. There's no fix-up available, meaning AutoUpgrade will let these parameters in your SP file. You should check at this point. So this is what the report gives you. And this is a very good overview. Then the report comes in HTML, text, and JSON format. And yeah, once we are done with the report and checked everything is fine, now we can run AutoUpgrade at night unattended. And therefore we use the mode deploy. This will now repeat the analyze, but will then do fix-ups, then upgrade your database, and then do the post-upgrade. And it's not a black box tool. You can monitor with LSJ here, list jobs. So this gives us job 101. And if you need more details on the command prompt, you can ask status minus job 101. And this tells you know in which state we are, where the log files are, and so on. Plus also exactly here that we are in the CDB $roots upgrade, 12%, and the PDBs come later once the root upgrade has been finished. At the end, you should see success. So one database here upgrades successfully. And very important also, you see there's a guaranteed restore point. So we come to this a little bit later. But this guaranteed restore point is your insurance for issues happening during the upgrade, or when you test, you can go back to this. This includes now also recompilation, time zone upgrade unless you override it, and post-upgrade fix-ups, refresh of dictionary stats, and so on, and much, much more. So the tool does everything for you. And let's go through a quick demo here. So here in this quick demo, we have a config file, and it's the minimum config file. Source home, target home, SID. It doesn't need more to upgrade a database. You can do more if you want to. Now java minus char AutoUpgrade char, pointing to the config file, and mode analyze. As we explained, this is best practice. Now do a quick LSJ on the command prompt, and we see we have job 100 doing the pre-checks right now. And you have to quick very fast because this job completes very, very quickly usually. Job 100 completed. And now let's check the summary report. And in this case, we will have a quick look into the log file. So status log here. And we see it's 12.201 to 19.12. And the very important line pre-checked passed, no manual intervention needed. Let's kick it off with deploy. So deploy now will repeat the analyze and then do the fix-ups. So a quick LSJ, now you see the job number is 101. It does now the fix-ups. So for instance, it refreshes dictionary stats and it tells you where it is right now. Now, watching an upgrade is only fun for Daniel and myself. Let's speed that up a little bit. We are in the upgrade process a little while later. And even here at this point, we should check where we are, what it's doing. So status minus job 101 tells us it's 5 minutes into the upgrade. We have some log files, and the DB12 database is 10% upgraded already. This is not a linear value, by the way. So it may jump at the end, especially with the components. So the job is completed at some point. Let's do a final check here and connect to the database. Never trust a demo here. It's 1912, so that looks good. Database has been upgraded successfully. And I think with that demo, I should hand over to Daniel, I guess.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. Now that we know the essentials, let's talk about a few little more advanced scenarios. Can you use AutoUpgrade to upgrade your database while you are moving to a new server as well? And that is definitely possible. We saw in Mike's demo that he used Analyze first to look at the database to check for the database readiness. And then he used deploy mode, which did it all. But if you need to move to a new server at the same time, that's not an ideal way of doing it. So we have another proposal for you. On the source system, you can do the Analyze, which we saw. It will check the database to see whether or not there are any critical issues. And it'll also determine which of the issues can be automatically fixed by AutoUpgrade, which is the next phase. So instead of mode Analyze on the source system, you now write mode fix-ups. Now AutoUpgrade will start to fix the things in your database that it can take care of. It can gather dictionary statistics and so much more. Now you have downtime on your database. You should have downtime before you do the fix-ups. And after the fix-ups, you can shut down the database. You can move it to the new system. You can either unmount the storage, you can copy the data files or whatever you prefer, and then start the database in upgrade mode on the new host. And then you rerun AutoUpgrade, and this time with mode equals upgrade, which will then finish will start the upgrade and do all the post-upgrade fix-ups. So deploy does it all, but you can do each individual piece as you want so that you have a much better control of the process. So it looks similar like this. On the source system, you have a very basic config file. On the source server, you don't have the target Oracle home because that is on the target system. So you can just write anything there. It doesn't really matter. You write mode analyze and mode fix-ups. Once you've done that, you shut it down, copy everything over to the target system, update etc aura tab. If you have clusterware, you register the database in clusterware, you prepare network files, key store if you have an encrypted database, and so much more. Start up in upgrade mode, and then you have a very simple config file on the target system as well, and write mode upgrade, and then AutoUpgrade will do the rest. So this is a really good way that you can replace the operating system, the underlying server, when you do an upgrade as well. Many customers do this if they come, for instance, from 11.204 and they want to go to 19C, which can support Oracle Linux 8. This is often a use case. Unplug, plug, upgrade, and even more. Because so far we've seen how you can upgrade a non-CDB or a complete container database. But what if you are already on the multi-tenant architecture and you only want to upgrade one PDB? You can, of course, upgrade the entire container database, but there is a much more flexible way, which is unplug, plug, upgrade. So on the left here, we have a lower release container database. This could be 12.102, and we have a PDB called PDB1. We want to upgrade that to Oracle Database 19C. So in advance, we create a new container database in Oracle Database 19C. This is what we have on the right. Now, what we can do is that we can unplug PDB1 from the 12.102 database, plug it into the 19C container database, and just upgrade that PDB only. This is much faster than upgrading the entire CDB, and it gives you a lot more flexibility because you can decide when you want to upgrade each individual PDB. You can, of course, do that with AutoUpgrade. It is a little cumbersome because you need to unplug and plug it into the new system. If you need to move to a new database host, you would need to copy the files, the data files over the network. But we have a really cool present coming up for you in the next release of AutoUpgrade, where we can use a feature in the multi-tenant architecture, which is called refreshable clone PDB. What do we do there? Well, on the source database, you need to create a common user. In this example, we call it c#borg, and you have to give it some privileges: create session, create pluggable database, and select any catalog. So this is a common user on the source database. This is where your PDB is currently residing, the lower release. In your target container database on the higher release on the Oracle Database 19C, this is where you want to plug in the PDB. You create a database link. That database link points back to the container database where the PDB is currently residing. Then you create a config file in AutoUpgrade. You have the SID of the source container, of the target container. You specify the PDB that you want to upgrade. In this case, it's PDB1. You have the target CDB. This is where we want to plug it in. And then we specify the name of the DB link that points back to the PDB. And we called it clone PDB1. So what can happen now? We can do unplug plug upgrade via refreshable clone, PDB. When you start AutoUpgrade in this mode, it'll connect to the target container database. It'll create a refreshable clone PDB. So it'll create a complete clone of the PDB, and it'll establish a link between the source PDB and the target PDB. And it can then refresh the target PDB using redo from the source database. So you can build a copy of the PDB in advance and let it sit there, refresh it by redo until you are ready to do the upgrade. You specify in AutoUpgrade, you set a start time of the upgrade, and at that time, AutoUpgrade will do a final refresh to get all the changes from the source PDB over, and it'll then upgrade that specific PDB only. And after that, the PDB in the target container database can be opened in normal read-write mode and be used by your users. So this is a really cool way that you can avoid the downtime it takes to copy the PDB. If it is a 50 terabyte PDB, that takes a while to copy over the network, but you can hide that downtime by using a refreshable clone PDB. If we go back to the config file, you can see that in the last line, when it says source dblink.pdb1, then we have the name of the PDB link. And then we have a number, 600. That's 600 seconds or 10 minutes. So this is the interval at which the database will be refreshed with redo from the source database. The more often you do it, the less data there is to synchronize on the very last refresh. But you don't need to worry. Before AutoUpgrade starts the upgrade, it'll do a last refresh, so we ensure that all the changes are brought over. Then a question we often get, what about grid infrastructure? Can we use AutoUpgrade to also upgrade our GI? And the answer is no. AutoUpgrade is for databases. It can upgrade databases. If you have a RAG database or a single instance that is managed by Clusterware, you yourself manually need to upgrade the grid infrastructure. We recommend that you upgrade the grid infrastructure in advance, 1 or 2 weekends before you want to upgrade the database, to kind of take that out of the maintenance window. It'll also give you a good idea to see a good feeling whether this new version of GI works in your environment. Then a few weekends after, when you've verified that the new version of GI works fine, you can then upgrade AutoUpgrade with, you can upgrade your database with AutoUpgrade. And then finally, about RAG and GI, we recommend that you keep the database patch level and the GI patch level in sync. So if you have a database that is running on 19.13, the October release of this year, we recommend that your GI is running on the same patch level as well. It doesn't have to be like that, but that's our very clear recommendation. And all our databases internally in Oracle, all our autonomous databases, our production database, and all other Oracle databases that we run in RAC clusters, they are using the same methodology. So if you want to run your database the way that we do it, this is the recommendation that we can give you. Okay, so what if? We have shown you a recorded demo. We have shown you some things on slide, and we know that when product managers, they talk about things, they always magically work. So what if something happens in AutoUpgrade that is not supposed to happen? What if AutoUpgrade fails? Then you need to get in touch with us. You need to create a service request in My Oracle Support so our developers can get some information and start working on the problem. To make that as easy as possible, to make diagnosing your specific issue as easy as possible, we've provided a cool option in AutoUpgrade, which is called -zip. So you specify the config file that you used when you encountered the error, and then instead of using mode analyze or mode deploy, you simply write -zip. this will go in, look in your config file, and see where all the log files are stored. It'll take your configuration file, it'll take your alert log, and put everything into a zip file. And that zip file is most likely the only thing that you need to upload to my Oracle support. If you want to be on the safe side, you can also include the output of OPatch ls inventory. And I would say in 95% of the cases, this is more than enough that we need in order to fix your problem. Now, AutoUpgrade, it's actually not a new tool anymore. I think it was launched almost 3 years ago. But if you want to be ensured that AutoUpgrade is really battle tested, that it has been verified in the field, here's a quote from Alain Four, who used to work at La Mobiliar, one of our big customers in Switzerland. They had a project where they needed to upgrade 735 PDBs in one weekend, and they were only a few DBAs on duty. They could use AutoUpgrade to do that because AutoUpgrade allows you to do multiple upgrades at the same time. It's a very easy tool. You can do the monitoring from inside AutoUpgrade, and the quote from Alain is that sitting in front of the screen the whole time is not necessary. It was mostly relaxed to upgrade 735 databases. So I think that really proves the value of AutoUpgrade and how useful it is, and I would say that it is battle tested. We have a few minutes left, so it's time to say thank you. A final recommendation, visit our blogs, mine and Mike's. And in addition, there's also Rodrigo, who joined our team 6 months ago. Rodrigo is very focused on security and patching, so if that is something of interest to you, you should definitely subscribe to his blog as well. We have the webinars that we advertised in the beginning, MikeDietrich.com/videos. There you can find the recordings and the slides from all of our webinars. And we also have a really cool YouTube channel where we post a few videos every week. And I promise you, all our content is no marketing, no buzzwords. It is all tech and all demos. And we don't talk about anything that we haven't tested ourselves. So visit our YouTube channel and you can get some really nice small videos to digest. And finally, Mike and I will be returning to the Groundbreakers virtual tour on Saturday, December 11. And we will talk about Oracle development and its internals. It's a really cool talk that I so much love. It's called, Is it fixed in 20C3? And we talk about what happens when you report an error to support and you get an answer back that this error has now been fixed in Oracle Database 23C. What does that mean? What is happening behind the gates at Oracle? What do we do to your specific bug? And how do we deliver patches to you and so forth? So if you're interested in learning more about the internals of Oracle development, come back on December 11 for our talk. And that was our final word. Mike, do you have something to add here in the beginning? You have 30 seconds.
Just like saying thank you, and also thank you to the host and to Francisco and all the people involved in setting all this up and doing such hard work. And also to you, Rajesh. Thank you for being our host today. Thanks for everybody.
Thanks, Mike and Daniel. I think you presented a great session and also answered all the questions while the session is in progress. That's really appreciated. And yeah, we look forward to your next session. And I also thank all the participants for attending today. And please don't forget to register to as many sessions as possible. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
CloudDB, shaping your new normal.